we're going to look at using the McGraw My Math online. And so some of the positives I found out of it is you can send your students those homeworks and games and assignments all from their computers. They can access it at home, should be closed down because of this great virus going around. You can also assign a test to just a certain group of students, or you can assign it to the whole class. I know we used the diagnostic test in 3rd grade after we met with Tassin last time, so we could get a better grade level feel for those students that are in Tier 2. And then you can also plan your lessons with the interactive slides and videos, the tools. You can set them to certain days, so you just pull up on the website and it's right there for you. You don't have to go searching for it every day. And then the beauty is it will grade the test for you and you don't have to grade it. That was probably my favorite. Creating a lesson plan. When we go to create a lesson plan, you are going to go into the main menu, and on the main menu you'll go to plan and present. You can look through all the different, find the chapter and the different lesson that you need for that day, and it'll show you all the different components of the whole lesson that it has to offer. And you can create it however you want, customize it, add things, take things away, and then you can add it to your calendar for this certain day if you just want to leave it like it is. So when doing that, we can just come here to the main menu and then come down to where it says plan and present. If you want to do one for the lesson you're going to be doing on Tuesday when we return from spring break, feel free to go along with me as I do this, and so then that way you have one ready to go when you return. Right here you just find the chapter, whatever one you're on, or on chapter 12, and then the lessons are off to the side. So chapter 12:4 is what I'll be doing when I return on Tuesday. Right underneath of it, the tabs, it shows me what my focus is, my standard for it, the previous standard that they should have learned last year, the standard they're going to move to next year. And then you can come down the vocab you'll need, launching it, applying it, the practice skills. You can look under each one and see the different components that they have. Under the presentation, you can just launch the presentation that they have. That goes through all the pages with the students. Or you can launch the editor and then you can edit and delete slides. You can add slides if you want. You can rearrange them. If you want to move these ones to the front and then teach this later on. You can change it all you want. If you like it is, then you can just go ahead and add it to the calendar, select whatever day you want, and then click OK. And then once it's on, I already have that on mine. When you're on your front home menu, down here on your to-do, it'll tell you what's due that day. So by today, my students had to have this quick check done. And then if I look on here, it has my lesson ready to go. So as soon as I pull it up, I don't have to go search for any of it. I can click right on the lesson and we can get started. So, any questions how you can find the lesson and get started on it? Awesome. Has anybody been able to use this before? Yay, Megan! Way to go, the All-Star. And then I found that you can assign them their homework on there, quick checks, and games. The one thing I learned about assigning of the homework on it, they are PDFs, so it's literally the same PDF you're gonna print, sends to the students. It's not interactive where they can fill it out right there on the document. It's a PDF they can download. They could then fill it out like on a Google Docs and send back to you, or they could just be able to see it if, heaven forbid, they have to do this at home. You can send the homework to them that way. They can view it, they can write it on paper, or they can do it in a different document, attach it, send it back to you, but it's not an interactive document for the homeworks. That's the one thing I really didn't like about it. The quick checks are interactive. The students open those, go through the quick checks. The negative I found on the quick checks is that when they're finished, they hit review it, they get to see their scores, but the scores don't come to you. So on the quick checks, the kids can take a screenshot and upload the screenshot so then you can see their score, but it's another step, was kind of a pain. So my kids with the quick checks, I've been starting off my lesson with quick checks because my kids are, when I start math, they're coming back from target time. So they log in, do the quick check to make sure they retained yesterday's information. And then as they finish, they raise their hand and I walk around and check their scores. Quick checks are 5 questions usually. I can easily see most of them are getting 5s. Oh, this kid got a 2. They need a refresher on that lesson. So that's kind of how I've used the quick checks. I'm not sure why my math doesn't have it where the scores can come back to us. Same with games, my kids really like the games. When there's a game, I can send them the game, assign it for like 2 weeks. They can log in and play the games multiple times. So that's the only bad part with that. The assessments are completely different though. The assessments I love. To assign the homeworks and the quick checks, here's the steps we're gonna follow. You go in that main menu, that's where you can find everything. Under the resources tab, again, select the chapter and the lesson you're gonna be looking for. And when you get in there, there's kind of 3 different options with each of them. So taking a look at it, right in here is our resources. Here's my chapter and my lesson I'm on. Many different options for it. Over to the side, it'll show you there's a quick check, there's the lesson presentations, the response to intervention. I know, Mandy, you'd asked about that. There's 7 different options for this lesson. The tools you can use, or the worksheets, depending on what you want. But again, those worksheets aren't they're just PDFs. So in the quick check, I took it. If you star it, it'll put it in your favorites. Much easier to find. Looking through your favorites, you don't have to go through all the chapters to search for it. If you want to add a note for yourself or the students to see, you can click on the little paper and you can stick a note in it for them to read or for yourself. Otherwise, on the gear here, you can open the resource to see what it looks like. You can see the standard it's tying to. You can assign it, or you can share it in the Google Classroom if you use the Google Classroom. I just share it through My Math with my students instead of the Google Classroom.
Casey, can I ask you back up?
Yep.
So if I'm gonna do the Am I Ready when we come back, how do I assign that?
So going into, say, chapter 12, Am I Ready? And
I actually. Okay, because the Am I Ready online used to be different from the Am I Ready in our books.
And I think the Am I Ready is a different page, but again,
So there's an Am I Ready practice, Am I Ready review, and Am I Ready reply online.
and the Am I Ready ones on here, they're gonna be Microsoft Word documents. So you can,
So those can be assigned to them?
they can be assigned to them. It's not the same Am I Ready page that's in the book. It's a little bit
Right.
different. So like, here's the Am I Ready page here. The students can enable editing on those. I think it'll work on their Chromebooks. I don't know if they can open the Microsoft Word on their Chromebooks though.
I'll find out.
I'm not sure on that.
They can't, Sarah says they can't.
Okay, so I don't know how that would open for
So
them.
the Am I Ready would probably not be worth assigning on there.
Honestly, for me, the things I found that's worth assigning are the quick checks, the games, and the assessments.
So the Check My Progress, is that one?
I haven't done a check my progress. Yeah.
I really love assigning the manipulatives because
Yes,
they
the
can
tools.
work with place value blocks and you don't have to make
Get
a
'em all
mess.
out.
So
Like,
like, here's your
awesome,
tools.
and they love it. They just sit there and
So
they
this first lesson.
manipulate the tools. It's great. That's what I love.
So where do you find that? Is that under tools?
It's my toolbox.
So if I'm in the lesson where it says tools, that's where it would be? Yeah, virtual manipulatives.
Yeah.
And then there's a line. That's
I
not
put
under.
this one, and then it's just blank. Then you can choose which ones you want to go up there. So like, and then it'll just.
So right up here, if you're under what lesson you want,
On the left it says tools.
it says tools over here on the left. You can click on it, and then there's the My Math toolkit. It opens up blank, and you have your different tools at the bottom. You can add the backgrounds and the tools over here if they want. The blocks, then you can drag the blocks into it.
That is cool.
Yeah. And then they even have a calculator. Some of you guys might not want them to have access to that calculator, but there is a calculator on there also, so be aware of that. And if they need to get rid of it, they just click on it, hit the trash can, and it'll delete them. Then over on the left, you have many other tools. I think somebody said you guys are working with measurement.
I have my students in there.
So there's, depending on what, I think each grade level will have different tools on there, so. Yep, like 3rd grade, we're doing line plots coming up. They can draw a line plot and add their title on it. They can add their side title to it. And then they can plot right there on it. So that's another great interactive, you can push it out to them, they can access it very easily then.
This is what pops up for me.
Then that's probably your flash player up at the top in the web deal if you access the pop-up blocker.
With your grids and.
Your code has expired. So you need to give Dave sent that on.
Oh, resources, we'll get you there.
Because you don't have to.
Yeah, under resources. And then here's your tools over here, or like your worksheets. Different lessons offer different things. I know I said something about the games. They're not on every lesson. On chapter 12, we only had a game on our review. And so I can send the game out to the students that way. Depends on what chapter it is and what they have to offer. Sometimes I'll look and see what games there are for the whole chapter, send it out at the beginning of the chapter, and they can access it throughout the whole chapter then. Lots of fun tools to play with and for them to access. My favorite thing by far I found on their website is the assessments.
Sorry.
You're good. And then when this is all done, I will send this presentation to you guys. So then you will have all the steps that if you forget, how do I go back and access this? You can look up the steps so you can access it. On the assessments though, there is on the menu an assessment button to do printable assessments or online assessments. You can assign it from your library so you don't have to create them, or if you'd like, you can create them. Come in here to the menu button. There is assessments, and then the online or the printable ones are right there. Right here you can do assign tests from library. I've learned this the hard way. The 2018 is what you want. If you go down further and see the grade level down here, those are the 21st century, and that's all that's on there is 21st century. So I searched forever trying to find the right test and couldn't. So if you just go to that very first one, I have access to the grade above or below me also. So if you ever want to go back and see what theirs looked like, it pulls up with numerous pages of assessments. So if you just search by a title, I know I was looking for chapter 12. I can search chapter 12 and it'll bring up anything regarding that. But I know third grade, we always give the 2B test is what we usually give. So I always type in 2B also, and you'll find that exact test right there. On the little gear over here, you can copy the test, assign it to your class, print it, preview, or your different options. I've previewed it, gone through, taken the test myself so that I know what the kids are gonna be taking. And then when I'm ready, I just go ahead, click to assign it. You can do it now and keep it open and it'll show up on the kids' computers, or you can close it. You can also require them to have a password so they can't access that test without your password, because I know some kids will log in and see it and go ahead and take it when you don't want them to. So you can make it password protected, and when you want them to take it, give them a password to take it. For your students, if you leave it at all students, otherwise if it's certain students you want, you just come in and uncheck them, who you don't want, and then you can check the ones you do want depending on there. You can even create a group. I had a winter tier 2 group saved on mine, and if you just save them in a certain group here, it'll show up as a group up here as well instead of just your class. I think right here I had winter tier 2 right there saved, so just those students, when I wanted to assign it, I could click on those 4 students that were in a tier 2 group and I could assign things just to them. So that's a good way if you're gonna have an intervention group as well going. Okay, so if you go to the menu assessment here, online, and then you gotta assign from the library is where you'll find the different tests. Under my test, and you should see your grade level then.
So do you assign that to your whole class, or can you assign a certain?
The chapter test I assigned to my whole class, but like I was telling you guys, we did the diagnostic test. So, I just searched for the diagnostic test here. And like right here was the one I gave my kids, the diagnostic and placement test. And when I did that, when I went to assign it to class over here, I went in and opened my students up and I unchecked all of them. And on the drop down, I just found the certain ones I wanted and only checked their names. And then when I did that, I just clicked chose students, and only, it'll tell you 3 out of your 20 students were selected for that test.
So then you go into the same tab